डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Dear students, I Dr. Shivang Patel, Associate Professor from School of Computer Science, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, welcome you all from Chaitanya Studio of Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. In the lecture series of Python programming, in the previous session, we have discussed variable types, various data types that are available in Python. Then after, we have seen different types of operators that are supported in Python, how to use those operators in programming. We have already seen few of the programs that showed that how operators that can be used, as well as we have discussed the concept of typecasting. We have already discussed implicit as well as explicit typecasting. If you want to convert one data type into another data type, in that case you are using explicit data type, and for that various inbuilt functions are there. So all these things we have discussed in the previous session. Now in today's session we are going to discuss conditional structure, or you can say that conditional statements in Python programming. So as you are aware, in any other programming languages, conditional statements that are used to check the condition, and based on the satisfaction of that condition, whether the condition is true or false, the code of execution that will be implemented. Now in this unit, the student can learn or understand how the decision making statements that can be used in program. In decision making statement, basically if statements that can be used, if else statement that can be used, and if you want to check multiple conditions, in that case if else ladder, or you can say that the if elif statements that can be used. So these three keywords that can be used in Python for decision making statements, as in other programming languages the same keywords that can be used, as well as the concept for using those keywords that are same, right. Now introduction. So as whatever the program we have discussed in Python language or any other programming language, say for example what is the sequence of execution of the code. So normally what happens, whenever you are writing a code, first statement, second statement, third statement, that can be executed in sequence. Say for example first statement can be executed, then after second, then after the third. That is the normal flow of execution of any code or any program in any of the programming language. But in some of the situations, you are requiring that you don't want to execute whatever the statements in sequential manner, but in some of the condition, in some of the scenarios, say for example you want to execute some specific part of code when some specific event that will occur, right. That means suppose you want to check some of the conditions, and based on that condition you want to execute some block of code. If you are requiring such kind of specification, you are requiring these control statements, or you can say that the decision making statements. So in Python programming, basically we have to see three decision making statements: if else and if elif statements, right. So basically this allows you to navigate from one part to another part of the program, right. Now we will start with one by one. So first statement, that is if statement. You can see the flow diagram on the screen. So basically as you already aware, the diamond symbol that can be used to represent the condition in the flow. So if you are checking one condition, so normally the condition will be checked, the result will be, or it may be true or it may be false. So if the condition is satisfied, in that case few line of code you have to execute, or you can say that some block of code you have to execute. And if the condition is not true, right, or here we are not checking the not true, we are checking just only one thing, the condition is true or not. If it is not true, then the remaining part of the program or the remaining part of the code that will be executed in the if statement. So structure is that if, then after in parenthesis you have to write any test condition, or you can say that the test expression. Remember the syntax in Python, if you are using any of the keywords if, else or elif, you have to end that particular keyword with colon sign. So here if, then after in parenthesis you have to mention some expression, and then after this statement ends with the colon sign. Then after you have to write some of the code. So if the condition is satisfied, in that case that code will be executed. As you already aware the concept of indentation, you must have to maintain where to start the block after moving some of the indentation, after leaving the space for indentation. So the compiler can get idea that block belongs to which particular parent, right. Now we will see one example for simple if statement. Here two variables that are created, coin1 and coin2. Now the values that can be taken from the user. Now the condition will be checked if coin1 is less than coin2. So normally if you are using these conditional statements, you can use conditional operators, or you can say that the relational operators, as we have discussed in the previous session, right. So if the value or the condition that is true, in that case it will print the answer coin1 is less than coin2. But if the condition is not satisfied, so no output will be generated, and if any other statements are there in the program, that will be executed. Now the next structure, that is if else statement, that differs from the previous one. If in previous statement only condition will check, and if it is true, then and then some code will be executed. But here in if else statement, the condition will be checked. If the condition satisfied, in that case some block of code will be executed, and if it is not satisfied, then another block of code that will be executed. That is the normal scenario in any kind of programming language, right. And then after, remaining code of the program that will be executed. You can observe the structure here or the syntax here, that is if, then after the test expression or the test condition. As you already aware, the statement ends with the colon. Then after, if the condition satisfied, so which code you want to execute, that you have to put in the body here or in this block. So as you already aware, block cannot be start or ends with the curly bracket, because in the Python you have to mention the block by indentation. So here you have to put some blanks or whatever the space is here, that is considering as the indentation. Then after, else part again, else statement ends with the colon sign. Then after, whatever the statements you are writing here, that will be executed in the case of if the condition is not satisfied. That is the general scenario. We will see this with one demonstration. So here one example is given, whether the person is eligible to vote or not. So as you already aware, you have to check the age factor. So if you are checking the age, whether it is greater than 18, greater than or equal to 18 or less than 18. So here in the if condition, you are checking that if age greater than or equal to 18, in that case you can print the statement the person is eligible for the vote. And if this condition is not satisfied, in that case you are passing that control to the else part, and whatever the statements available in the else part, that will be executed. You can see the output in scenario. Scenario 1, here the age will be entered 20, obviously it is greater than 18, so the person is eligible for vote. And in the second scenario, you can see we have entered the age 12, which is less than 18, so here the person is not eligible. So that is all about the if else statement. Now suppose you are requiring to check multiple conditions. So you are having two options, you can use nested if or you can use if else statement. In other programming language, you already aware, that is also called if else ladder. So here what happen, you have to check first of all one condition. If that condition is satisfied, in that case some block of code that you have to execute, and then after the remaining portion that you have to execute in the code. But suppose the first condition is not true, that means it is false. In that case, if you want to check another condition, then you have to put that condition in the test expression. That means another if statement, or you can say that the elif statement you have to use to check the another condition. Again, the condition is satisfied, some sort of code that will be executed, and if the second statement or the second condition that is wrong, in that case you are checking the next one, that is the third condition. So this process is continuous. So here you are checking multiple condition at a time with the help of if elif statements, or you can say that the if else if ladder. You can see the structure. If test expression 1, that is your first condition, then after colon, that represent the end of that statement. then after you are putting indentation, and if the condition is satisfied, in that case you can execute that first code of expression. Then after, if you want to check another condition because the first condition is not true, in that case you are checking the another condition in elif statement. So in the elif statement you are putting some condition, some test expression, again it will check by the compiler. If it is satisfied, then some sort of block statements that can be executed. If it is not satisfied, again the next elif statement, the condition will be checked. And at the end, the else portion, that is again optional. If any previous conditions, all the conditions are not satisfied, in that case the else part will be executed, right? That is the default block code that will be executed here in else. Now we will see with one example. So we will see one example of max. We are doing practical, so you can get more idea. For this, if elif statement. So here I am writing the comment. This is the demo of if elif. First of all, we are entering the marks for particular student. So we are entering the statement enter marks. Now suppose we are taking one variable that will take the marks input. So we are defining one variable here, say for example marks. Normally what happen, you have to enter multiple subjects marks and calculate a percentage, but here sake of simplicity we are creating one variable marks and in which we are taking the input. So for that we are using the input inbuilt function, and you can write here enter marks of student 1, say for example. Now observe here one thing, we have taken the inbuilt function input. In Python, whatever the input function that can take, that is string value, but here the marks that is in the integer, so we have to convert that string into the integer. So as you already aware, in the previous session we have discussed type conversion concept, right? So if you want to convert string into integer explicitly, so you have to put type conversion feature, you have to use here. So we can write here integer. So whatever the input value in the string, that will be converted into the integer, right? Now you can check the max statement. Here you are checking if max is greater than, say for example 69 or say for example 59. In that case you can write grade A1 or you can write first class or anything. Here observe one thing, if condition that ends with the colon, then after print statement that I have written after some space, that is nothing but the indentation, right? Now if the condition is satisfied, in that case what happen, it will print the result grade A1. But suppose the condition is not satisfied and I would like to check another condition, in that case I have to write the keyword elif and put another condition here, say for example max that is greater than 49, right? Here I am again leaving some spaces, that is indentation. I can print here, say for example grade B or B1. Every statement, that is if or elif, that ends with colon, that is the syntax that you have to remember. Then after again this condition is not satisfied, I am again checking with another one, say for example 39. You can write here grade C or C1. Then after, if all previous conditions that are not satisfied, then you want to execute some code or some statement, then you can put here in the else statement. So if all the previous conditions that are not satisfied, you can declare that is fail, or say for example grade D. Now this code, you have to execute this code. So whenever you are executing this code, you can use any of the editor, you can use ideally also. So here it will ask me for the marks. Suppose I am entering the marks for any student, say for example 78. So it will give the result grade A1. I am again executing the code and entering the marks, say for example 30, then you will get the result fail, right. So according to the condition that will satisfy particular statement of block, that will be executed. So this is the same example that we have discussed. Now the nested conditional statement. So if you want to execute multiple condition, if you want to check multiple condition, in that case you can use, that is nested if. Now that is if within if, or you can say that you can use multiple if statement in another if else statement. So we are using the same program or same code, but we can change here one thing. If any person can enter the max that is less than 0 or greater than 100, then this cannot be allowed logically, right. So we can put here one condition, if max that is greater than or equal to 0 and max that is less than or equal to 100, that is allowed. So if these marks are there, then this will be allowed. So we can put here all these if statement by using indent. So you can get idea, we are using nested if concept here. So if within multiple if statements, right. Now the last else statement, because we are using nested if. So in case of if the max any person have entered that is less than 0 or greater than 100, in that case you have to print some message, that is enter valid marks. Now we can execute this code. First of all, clear the output here of previous code. Now execution. Yes, we have not mentioned colon here. Okay. Now again execute this code. Again else we have not mentioned colon, so error message will occur. You must have to follow the syntax. Now again execute. Now it will ask you for the max. Suppose I am entering 120 max, right, then I press enter. So it will give the message enter valid max. Same way again executing code. Suppose you are entering lesser max, say for example less 10, less than 0. So it will tell you that the marks are not valid or enter valid marks, right. So this way you can use nested conditional statements, right. Now we are concluding our session. In today's session we have discussed various conditional statements that are available in Python, normally if statement, if else statements and if elif, or you can say that the if else ladder, as well as we have also discussed nested if else statements, right. So in the next session we are continuing with more control statements and looping structure. Till then, happy learning, keep practicing. Thank you.